Commander Stahl, hailing frequencies are open.
Okay, we're on.
The opinions expressed in tonight's podcast are those of the individuals speaking. They do not necessarily reflect the views of HarrisFilm Productions or its other crew members.
This is Steve Harry Harris with HarrisFilm Friends. Today we have Morgan from JJL Productions. We're here to talk about the Michael Myers Halloween fan films. Today on our panel we have Roy Ivey. How you doing, Roy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here.
Excellent. And of course we have Christopher Lee Power, who we all know as Captain Karcher. How you doing, sir?
Lovely. And what a great show. Wonderful guest tonight. Looking forward to chatting about the fan film and from yourself, Steve, and everyone else.
Thank you. And of course, it wouldn't be a show without the guys behind the scenes. Morgan, introduce yourself, Morgan, and tell us what you do over at JJL Productions.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Morgan Screen, and I'm one of the directors at JJL Productions alongside my business partner and friend Jake Lund.
Let me show everyone the preview for the first Halloween, The Hunt Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
All right, here we go.
Nice.
That is fantastic.
I haven't seen that, Morgan. That was great.
Really?
That was one of the teasers we did a while ago, yeah.
Yeah. That was the best teaser, I think, out of the ones that I've seen. It gave just enough of a hint of what you were doing to keep us wanting more, to really get us interested in what you were doing. Now, how did you guys get together? What gave you the idea to do a Halloween Michael Myers type film in the first place?
So this goes back a very long way. So Jake and I have known each other since we were teenagers, and we used to make our own little sort of fan series. So you may have heard of Doctor Who and The Walking Dead, for example.
Oh, yeah.
We used to do. And back at that point, it was obviously no budget, mum's camera, and just us and a couple of friends just mucking around, basically, for want of a better word. We got older, and we had an idea for a James Bond fan film, which we scripted, but we didn't actually go ahead with because at that time we'd hit restrictions around that, which caused quite a lot of logistical challenges. And then we fast forward another year to 2022, where one evening, one of the Halloween films was on TV. We were at Jake's house, just having some food for the evening. And it was at that point where, we were both sort of watching it, and Jake came up with an idea to do a 10-page script of our own sort of take on Halloween. He showed me the 10-page script, and I said, "This is great, but finish this." And so what he did was he drafted a full film script, and the rest is history. We started to obviously tweak the script to how we wanted it, and then it just kind of snowballed from there, really. So yeah, the inspiration was just one summer's evening in 2022, seeing one of the Halloween films that happened to be on TV at the time, and just Jake devising a script from it, and then we just rolled it from there.
So, what is your favorite genre? Is it horror? Is it bloody horror, or is it Hammer films? What inspired you to choose Michael Myers other than you saw it on the TV?
So I think for me personally, I grew up watching a lot of horror films thanks to my dad. So just as a bit of context, my dad worked as a runner on a few TV shows when he was younger, about my age now. And he's also written for a publication called Horrified Mag. And he also wrote recently a book called Book of Beasts, which is based on a 1970s show that was by Nigel Neal. So my dad's a big influence for why I like horror, and I particularly like slasher horror films. They've had quite a sort of influence on my upbringing, to the point where I'm quite sort of desensitized to horror and that sort of element. But I do love a bit of gore, and I do love a bit of sort of action around that. So that was one idea. I think it's also that horror is something that is easy to make, but is difficult to master, I'd say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we thought that as a sort of entry, and looking at how we can sort of start and grow as a brand, we thought that, you know, working on something based on Michael Myers, which is a name that's synonymous with so many horror fans, and a series that's very well liked by fans around the world, we thought it was very easy to promote. We thought it was very marketable, and we also thought that we could, you know, put our own sort of spin on something that hadn't been done before. Well, I'll talk about the sort of plot later, but yeah, we thought that our sort of take was something that hadn't been done before. We wanted to try and sort of explore that, and that's where we are today.
Well, I enjoyed your take on Michael Myers. I don't love the original series. I loved the first one. Okay, don't get me wrong. I loved the first one, but then I felt like, okay, he's dead, right? You know. And then the next movie came out. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought he was dead. You know, it seems like a recurring nightmare here. And it's like, you can't kill this guy. Is he not real? Is he not alive? What's the deal? So I don't know. I like your take on it, but the original just keeps going like the Ever Ready Bunny, and I'm not sure that it's marketable as an actual commercial series anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, but hey, I'm a sci-fi guy. I'm not really a horror guy, other than the old horror films that Christopher Lee and you know, the Hammer guys did. The Hammer films are fantastic, and of course our classic films with Vincent Price and those guys. I don't know. There's a certain Alfred Hitchcock-like technique that's required for me to keep my interest, and I think you got pretty close to that. I'm very impressed with what you've been able to accomplish. Now, obviously, you're not the cameraman, but you're the director. Where in the world do you get your equipment? Do you rent it? Do you have people who own it? Do you have to pay people? What? How do you do this? How do you do your film?
So the first film and the sequel that's currently in production at the moment, self-funded between myself and Jake. So what we did was we didn't like the idea of renting equipment. So what we did was we saved until we were able to actually purchase equipment. So we purchased the camera, we purchased the lighting rigs. In terms of audio equipment, so for example, boom mic and then radio mics, as we call them, they're actually the property of the sound recordist. So we make a sort of saving there, but we like to make our sort of locations look authentic. So we feel there's value in obviously spending money towards that. With the first film specifically, everyone was a volunteer, so no one was paid for the project, and we didn't expect anyone to, you know, sort of make any money off it, and we didn't, you know, obviously with it being a fan film, expect to make any sort of money off it either. So we went in with a full understanding, obviously making it clear to everyone that the project was you know, voluntary, and that everyone was a volunteer essentially. And the fact that the first one did so well meant we were able to actually, you know, sort of commit more money from our own savings, our own sort of funds, to the second film. And the second film that's in production at the moment, pretty much everyone is paid. So the sort of difference is quite stark when you look at the budgets, but I won't go too much into that. But yeah, we like to obviously purchase equipment, so, you know, camera, everything that goes with that, and the lighting equipment, and obviously, you know, putting a good deal of money to locations, which we feel give sort of the best feel as well. We also have a budget for like a basic makeup kit as well. So, you know, anything like fake blood and stuff like that, we've been able to get hold of as well, which is always an essential for a horror, I feel.
Yes, we're in touch with a couple of makeup artists like that, and the problem, of course, is Like I said, I introduced you to our group that we're all in different locations. I'm in
Yeah.
Alabama and Roy's in Missouri. Christopher's over there in Merseyside. So it's not like we can actually go to a real location and film. So we do StreamYard. We have our script meetings and our readings, our rehearsals, and actually sometimes I even help direct via StreamYard, like I did with Christopher. So, in the respect that we have no budget, absolutely, that's the same here. We, everybody's a volunteer, and most of the people that are involved buy their own props and their costumes, even their lighting, their green screens, you name it. If they need it, they usually buy it themselves, and that's the way it goes when you have no budget. Are you going to be at the same mansion that you were in the first movie?
Yeah, so without revealing too much of the second film, it does continue from where the first one left off.
Good.
So you do see the same mansion at the start, yeah.
Okay. One thing that we did notice, because we're American, is that you were driving on the wrong side of the road in your movie. In the next film, we would suggest that you actually just flip the image, and most people won't even notice the license tag on your car that is backwards. That's just a comment, just an idea. And somebody else mentioned, well, the deputies, they seem to not be as familiar with weapons as they should have been. That could have been an artistic choice, and that's totally fine too. I like the film. Christopher, you were very impressive in the film. This is Christopher Lee Power, and he's been an actor since how old? 18?
Yeah, I started acting when I was about 18, 19, but I didn't go to drama school until I was 28. So I was a late starter, and there's reasons for that. But I think, talking about Morgan's involvement and Jake's, I think when I first met them, it was a few years ago, and growing up in an environment where I had speech problems and lack of coordination and other issues with spelling, I found it very difficult to move forward in life, certainly as an actor, because I had all these barriers. But with the help of a mentor, I had planned, with their support and help, to focus on characters which were outside of myself. I'd always admired lawyers and doctors and MPs and prime ministers, but because of my local accent, because of the way I came across in my delivery, that would never have happened if it wasn't for my mentor. So thank God I got into drama school and I got an Oxford diploma. But when I came out, those characters, like doctors and lawyers, were the ones I wanted to go for. And I've had the privilege over the last few years of playing the lawyer, playing the MP, playing Minister of Defense. So when I came across Jake and Morgan's film, I'm not into gratuitous films. That's not me. I always see myself as either a Jeremy Irons, a Peter O'Toole, that Alan Rickman character. But chatting to these two a few years ago, wasn't it, Morgan? I realized how professional, how brilliant they were at not only organizing. The script was great. I read the script. I loved it. So I wanted to get involved, and they offered me the character of Dr. Langford. And I thought, this is a lovely role for me. It suits my accent. And I think, as Morgan would agree, there's a lot more to the character of Dr. Langford. I see him as a person that has high respect for Dr. Loomis. He's very intelligent, Dr. Langford. But I think him and Dr. Cooper bring the humor to both films, and we'll see that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very much of the opinion that this, in my opinion, is the better of the two.
The new one?
And I think that's down to, am I right, Morgan? You're using a different camera and a different setup from the previous film. I think this is a
So
lot.
if I just come in, Christopher, sorry. So just in terms of the second film, so we made a decision quite early on to change cameras because while the first film the camera was good, it was 1080p. The camera we have now is a Sony FX30, which is 4K and can actually be used in productions to go on Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. So when we get past the stage of where we are now, and we start to approach platforms like Amazon, Netflix, etc., we actually have a camera that's now ready to shoot productions that can go on there. So it's almost like a way that we're sort of future-proofing by getting better equipment, and it's well worth the investment because we hope that the gains will be very sort of long-term and tangible for us.
Okay, and a camera like that, does it store data on a card?
So it's SD cards, yeah. So we have two SD cards for I think 512 gigs off the top of my head.
Wow.
So because it's 4K, we need larger SD cards.
Absolutely.
It's quite common where we come off a weekend shoot and we've got over 100 gigabytes worth of footage to go through. So
and
yeah, it does take a lot of memory. That's one downside.
God forbid you lose one of those cards, man.
Yeah,
Can you imagine,
technology is
Christopher?
really.
What a nightmare, right?
I know. So when I chatted to Morgan and Jake, I found them very professional, and so I accepted the offer of reprising my role. And I think they're doing a great job. And as Morgan said, they are moving forward with good quality cameras and the setup. So I'm looking forward to the finished product. But these are, do you know what they remind me of, these two? Not so much in looks, but Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, when they got together, and they just, someone once said to me, sometimes as an actor, you have to create the work yourself. And let me give you an example before moving back to the film. I'd always wanted to do Midsummer Night's Dream, always. And I met directors. I met a director that worked with Stephen Berkoff. I was offered the part of Quince, and we did the production. But I've always wanted to do it with my company. And my wife said to me, well, why don't you direct? And why don't you play Oberon? Because that's your dream. And we did. And it was very successful. We got a standing ovation. The moral of the story is, sometimes as actors, we have to create our own work to move forward. This is exactly what Morgan and Jake are doing. They're creating their own work. And I know they're going to do great stuff in the future. It's just the beginning. So to be part of this journey is a privilege. And to be invited back as Dr. Lanford is wonderful. Because I could understand it a lot more. Can I just go back to what I meant by gratuitous? I said this to Jake and Morgan right at the beginning. I said, I'm not into, the gratuitousness, but what I am into is I love things being alluded to. I love the kind of the scare tactics behind a horror film. I love sometimes not knowing, but there is something going on in the background. But I really enjoyed working with Jake again and Morgan on this second film, The Death of Michael Myers. They're doing a great job.
Well, that's what I was talking about before, Morgan, is that psychological horror, okay? That should be, in my opinion, the target audience, okay? The kids are all into the, oh, you scared me. You jumped from behind something, or the dog was behind me, I didn't know. Or I'm in a car park and, somebody's sneaking up behind me, or they're under my car, or they're in the back seat. How would you not notice that? But still, it happens in films. And, you got that one little scare. But I studied filmmaking on my own, mostly. I learned it in high school, but I did a continuing study through my life, collecting magazines and books about filmmaking. And there was a magazine called Starlog that had spinoffs, Fangora and Cinemagic. And I got all of the issues that I could of those, studied all the techniques. And one of the horror techniques that is classic is that 3 scare thing, okay? And then you mix it up. So the first time you go, oh, you scared me, right? Second time is like, oh, yeah, funny, you scared me again. Third time, you're dead. Okay, and then you mix it up because, hey, you've done it 3 times. Now you've got to go, oh, the next time you're dead. Or whatever, however the director decides to do it, but you change it up a little bit. But it's a standard practice in horror films to have that 3 scare tactic, some form of it in all of your films. So Roy, what kind of questions do you have for our guests?
Just to comment on what you just said, that's something you do in improv too. It's more for the funny, whatever it is, but it's like, okay, you do something once, that can stand alone. If you do something twice, then it's you're obligated to bring in the third time, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's it's a proven formula, whatever else, you know. So it's like a hidden joke, whatever else, and you get back to it, you know. So yeah, I think that's an excellent thing. I think they did an excellent job of distilling what Michael Myers is all about, you know, and whatever else. And I think he is an enigma. He's the boogeyman, you know. You don't really know. Is he supernatural? Is he just really pumped up on drugs? Is there a practical reason for him being able to do it? It's not beyond the possibility, the things that he does, you know, but highly improbable, I would say, in many cases or whatever else. So I think people like to be scared, whatever else, but I do think that some stuff is way too graphic, and I agree with that. And I really like the Hitchcock stuff, whatever else, but you know, you people go to the movies to be scared for some things or whatever else, and horror has its rules, just like science fiction has its rules and what how we do things, and it's something that gets repeated as you go. You know, it's.
So, how did you feel about the first film that we've seen? Did they go over the top on the bloody horror movie type stuff too, or did you feel comfortable that they actually hit the mark for you as an audience member? Is this the kind of a horror movie you were expecting, or were you pleasantly surprised that it was the way it is now, okay, as a finished product?
I was very comfortable with it, whatever else, and I think that they let you know that the horror was happening, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think that it stayed certainly within the bounds, and it wasn't about blood, you know, and gore,
the point.
Whatever
Exactly.
it is. And again, you know, I like the classics, you know, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Mummy.
Right.
You know, those movies were wonderful, and they were I think they were mainly set in England or
Europe anyway. Yeah.
You know, so I think that those were excellent movies, and I don't think they ever should have fell out of style. You know,
I agree.
You know,
well, I mean, I like a zombie movie once in a while as long as it's not too graphic. But you know, you guys hit the mark. Yeah, Roy.
I think they took the work seriously, and they may not have took themselves seriously, you know, whatever else. They weren't overly important, whatever else, and I think that shows in the work too, you know, whatever else. But I think technically you hit all those marks, and you know, movie making should be purposeful, and you definitely were making choices based on what you were trying to accomplish. You know, you were trying to do a specific task.
Right.
So.
I have to ask, Morgan, being a fan filmmaker has its disadvantages too. There are just some hateful people online, especially on YouTube. Do you tend to get hate mail, if you want to call it that? periodically go like, why are you doing this? Just leave it alone. You know, I get that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few comments that have been less than positive, but we don't really take those too seriously, because at the end of the day, you know, we've made a film and they most likely haven't, and I know that's quite a sort of arrogant way of looking at it, but
No.
I think, you know, when you actually, you know, go to set and see a project from start to finish like Jake and I have, there's actually a lot to it. So The Hunt of Michael Myers, the first film, was 2 years in the making, and it's a
There you
similar
go.
time frame for The Death of Michael Myers, which is currently in production,
Right.
and due to come out next year. So 2 years from, you know, pre-production, which involves, you know, casting, setting up the locations, purchasing equipment, etc., planning logistics, scheduling, the actual production itself, which at the moment we're constrained to filming on weekends. That's because myself
Everybody
and Jake work
works.
full time alongside it,
Right.
and many of the cast and crew also have full time jobs as well. So weekends are like the optimal time to obviously get people available for the shoot. And then post production takes a long time as well. So there's different layers of editing that goes into it. So choosing which rushes to use, shot selection, takes a couple of months. You then got the visual edit, so color grading, special effects, audio effects, composition. We had a proper composer for the first film, writing an original score, which we felt was really good, having another layer to the film.
was
And we'll be doing the same for
awesome.
sequel as well.
Let me just say the music was perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
It was that I was really pleasantly blown out of the water with the music. Okay. It was symphonic. It was, I don't know how else to describe it. It was just perfect for what you intended to portray on the screen. That's a lot of work, especially on weekends when you're, you know, having to do these things instead of whatever real life has your challenging part of your life is going you through. And, you know, we all have to deal with that kind of a thing. That's one reason our film that Christopher's in has taken so long. We got together with Christopher in, I want to say, March or April of 2023, and started doing some table reads and costume dress rehearsals and that kind of a thing. And we finally got some good footage, and then we had other people drop out of the project, so I had to rewrite, I had to recast, you know, and it's like pulling teeth from a dinosaur, dude. You know,
it is, yeah.
So at least you know what we're talking about. And
well, we've had, sorry to put in, but we've had similar sort of issues with people dropping out as well. We actually had, in our first film, we had 2 cast members while we were mid shoot who literally just pulled out. So we had to source replacements very quickly. And might I say that those replacements were picked very carefully in the limited time that we had. And they're actually both returning for the second film as well. So it just goes to show that you don't always get the commitment first time round. But we're very happy with the people we've got involved in both projects. You know, in terms of the finished first project and this one that's ongoing. So yeah, we've had similar challenges to you in that respect. You know, commitment to a film is a big thing. So you know, we don't sort of begrudge anyone who's pulled out, but it's just, to me, I think it's just the workings of the industry, and you have to be prepared to accept that kind of element of risk.
Right, I agree. So where are you actually filming? Are you in northern England near Merseyside?
Yeah, so Jake and I are based in the county of Lancashire, which is in northwest England.
Okay.
And the majority of the shoot locations are in Lancashire. They're within 5 miles of where we live.
Okay.
We use a lot of actors who are northwest based, or at least close to northwest based where possible. Same with the crew where possible again, although we do have some that come from further afield. So we have a member of cast at the moment who's based in Bournemouth, but was previously northwest based. But our sound recordist is based in the East Midlands, which is about a 3-hour drive away from where we live. So we do get people from all over. In terms of locations, again, mostly Lancashire, but some are a bit further afield. So the mansion that you saw at the end of the first film, that's in North Wales, which is about 2 hours drive from where we live. But there's others. So, for example, the county of Yorkshire, which borders Lancashire, we have a couple of locations there as well. But yeah, we try and be Northwest based where we can, and we try and use local talent. We have an actress actually in our current project who's also from the same area as us, which is really good. Using sort of local up and coming talent is something that we sort of pride ourselves on. Being relatively young ourselves, we find that we're able to sort of connect with those sort of types of people really well as well. But equally, we have experienced cast and crew as well who've been involved, and that gives a real sort of broad base to us, and it sort of creates like a nice sort of harmonious feel on set as well.
Excellent. Well, I noticed you had various accents also in the film.
Yeah.
So it seemed to us like most of the sheriff's department sounded a bit Irish, or are we off, or is that Welsh?
No, so we've got different accents around England,
Yes.
the deputies, if you will. A lot of that is because, partly it is confidence in terms of using an American accent. And what we did for the first film was we said certain characters like the sheriff, like Alison Strode, obviously have to be American. And we have tried to use American accents a bit more in the second film. But a lot of it was down to sort of discretion. And I think, you sort of alluded to it earlier on with, for example, cars driving on the left-hand side of the road. We're in the UK. We can't escape that. So there's going to be some like limitations that we have to sort of run with. And accents are one of those things. But at the same time, with the doctors being British, you can sort of get away with that because, with it being a high-paid profession, you're more likely to, encounter expats from the UK.
It's not. I'm not disrespecting any of the things you're doing or any of that. It's just that we, as Americans, we noticed that you had different accents, but we in America also have communities where there are a plethora of accents.
Exactly.
And for me, that the setting looked like the Northeast somewhere in the United States. It looked like I don't know, what would you say, Roy? Where would you have placed this film if it was in the United States? Somewhere like
I agree. The Northeast.
I mean, a nebulous
Maryland,
maybe.
New York.
New York State.
Small town, outstate New York.
Right. That's what I'm thinking too. And in an area like that, especially, you're likely to have a lot of Irish type accents that are left over even after 100, 200 years. People grow up in the community and they maintain an accent that's slightly Irish or Scottish, or even like in Canada, in Halifax, those guys, they have a specific accent, and at a glance, or when you just are there, you think, well, American, it sounds American, but then they say certain words and it comes out more Scottish, like a boot.
I think in general, you can probably say that that British do American accents better than Americans do British.
Absolutely.
I agree. I'm biased, but I agree.
And no disrespect to anybody, but in general, the British, do have a high level of artistry, in acting. You have a lot of history.
Oh yeah. Thousands of years. We only have 200, so
One of the things I felt was important for Jake and Morgan. First of all, it is character driven, and that's good. And I'm really impressed that Jake and Morgan didn't go with the saturating the whole first film or the second film with just guts and gore, just for the sake of. When you watch the second film when it comes out and the first, it is character driven. There is a storyline. There is a journey. We do see Michael Myers. We follow that journey and the hunt. The other thing I wanted to say is what's important from an acting point of view is that if I was a director, one of the, and I've talked to a lot of directors. I've just had my autobiography has just been turned into a play and also a feature film by a BAFTA director.
Congratulations. Yes.
And when I directed the play version, I made it absolutely clear that if anyone could not retain an accent, which is our local accent, Merseyside, that I did not want them to use it, because there's nothing worse than sitting down and watching a film and you know the accent is shifting and you can tell.
Right.
To sustain an accent, whether it's certainly, you know, there's a lot of actors that do a good Irish accent in Britain, and they do a very good American accent. And I'm very careful what accents I do, because unless you can sustain that through the whole film, it doesn't work. And I think what Morgan and Jake did was absolutely right. They gave the choice for many, apart from the sheriff, for many people to use their own accents, which was a mixture.
Right.
And I thought that was important. The same with the second film. And the other thing I like about Jake and Morgan is the freedom from an acting point of view, because we read the script. I read the second script, and there's a lot more for Dr. Lanford and Dr. Cooper to do from the second film. There's a lot more in the second film. And for me, it was wonderful to be given the freedom to read the script, but make it your own, make it unique, bring it to life. It's about finding the truth. And I improvised quite a lot during my scenes because I wanted to be more organic and real. Now, Jake Morgan, you know, brilliant in so much as they gave me permission to do that. That doesn't mean I came away from the entire script. I didn't do. I was very loyal to what they wrote. But I just added bits and pieces because I thought that's real for me. And so
Right.
I like what they did with that. But it is character driven. And the second script is honestly, in my opinion, brilliant, because there are a lot of brilliant storylines, and there is a through line right through the whole film. Yes, you get to see Michael Myers, and you're right. You're absolutely right. You know, in Britain, there are some brilliant actors that do a great. And actually, you know this yourself, Rory and Steve, is that there are a lot of British actors that go to America. I don't know. What do you? Can I ask you a question? Have you heard of House?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did not realize that actor was the same guy that I was watching in comedies in the UK.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
Hugh Laurie. Yeah, Hugh
I was
Laurie.
like, how in the world? Hugh Laurie, that can't be the same guy. You know, absolutely
Yeah.
not. And you're absolutely right about maintaining that accent. And
Mm.
that's what we do with our people is when we're casting, look, we're doing space dramas, okay? So we have a colony that was established by mostly English speaking countries, okay? So Europe, okay, as English speaking countries, got together with India, Pakistan, Canada, United States, you know, all around the world. And these people decided they'd had enough on Earth. Okay, fine, have your utopia. We're going to go explore and settle a new planet. They brought those English traditions, their normal accents, and I want authenticity. So if I have an actor or an actress who has a Southern accent, there are people who talk like this, and if that's natural for them, then God bless you. Okay, that's if it's natural, but don't be making it up. Don't be making fun of people from a particular region. From my point of view, I think that the majority of the people that have seen your film in our group enjoyed it immensely. And it didn't matter about the accents being slightly different and not all American. It's, hey, you know, you're in a little village in New England somewhere, and that's going to happen. You know, and that's why we do the same thing with our people. Is Christopher has an accent that we really can't tie down. Seriously, it's perfect.
It took a lot. It took hard work to do that.
Well, in some instances, it sounds almost American.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I don't know how to compare you to other actors, but I think of classic actors like Cary Grant. It's not that distinctive, you know, like his. But Cary Grant, you really couldn't tell where he was from. You didn't know. Alfred Hitchcock had a particular voice, but who knew he was from England? It was like we always thought of him as an American. You know, Alfred Hitchcock. What? He's not an. Yeah, he's an American, but was he always an American?
I was going to say, one of the things I'd like to ask Morgan and yourselves regarding a fan film, because this is new. This is new to me. You know, I've done lots of films, television in the past. You know, on Amazon, but this is a new genre for me. Well, first of all, let me ask this question to Morgan and yourselves, but Morgan first. How is it possible to go beyond the fan film? Because I've often asked this question. Surely, when we look at Michael Myers, it's a franchise in the sense of you know, you've had people do it over the years. For me, I like the Jamie Lee Curtis, the original. I think it was 1979. Correct me if I'm wrong. But why is it so difficult for yourselves as well? We'll go to Morgan first. Why is it so difficult to get a fan film onto Amazon, onto Netflix, if other people are doing the same? Morgan.
I think for us, Chris, it's about how we can grow to start with. So it's not necessarily a case of, you know, getting it on there. It's a case of what's accessible to the largest audience base. And we feel that YouTube, because it's obviously free to view, for example, is more accessible than Prime at the moment. I think there's value in sort of being accessible to a wider audience where possible. But I do take your point about if, you know, you didn't necessarily have the whole Michael Myers thing, there was like an extension of it, then we could pass it off as being sort of not necessarily fan made. But yeah, it really comes down to, you know, what's accessible to people, what is easy for people to view. So when we talk about growing our base, we talk about starting with family, friends, and then their family and friends, and so on and so forth. And then you get the whole sort of recognition internationally as well. So yeah, I would really say it's down to, you know, what is the best platform that most people can view it on. And at the moment, that is YouTube for where we are at the moment.
Yes, and there are also some niche fan film festivals that are available for low cost or free. But the biggest issue, Christopher, at this point is actually intellectual property rights. So, for example, in films that resemble Star Trek, whether it says it's a Star Trek fan film or not, we will go ahead and put a disclaimer that CBS Paramount requested for all fan films. And it basically says Star Trek was created by Gene Roddenberry. CBS Paramount owns it. And now it's probably going to be
Skydance.
Skydance. There you go. So now they'll probably update it to make it say Skydance or whoever owns the intellectual property. We don't have any property rights. We're not charging any money to see this. You know, blah blah blah. It's your stuff, and we just want to play in your sandbox. You know, so since it's their intellectual property rights, we are forbidden from making any money off of the project. I'm not sure how strict the Michael Myers group, you know, Halloween people are about theirs, but it's the same thing with Star Wars and all the other popular type of fan films. So we just basically do what we can to show our love. You know, our films, HarrisFilm Productions, mostly the Task Force 78 type series and Task Force 81 over at Kenneth May's films, they are love letters to Star Trek. They're love letters to UFO and Space 1999 and Ray Bradbury, you know, science fiction in general, but especially space science fiction. And the thing is that we don't own these, and we got ideas from all these people, but we're making it our own. We're a type of a spin-off. So even though we're a spin-off, we're still not, we don't own it. You know, I technically own the copyright to the films, but it's not like I own them to the point that I'm making any money. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think Morgan understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it's one of those legal nightmares, Christopher, unfortunately.
But it makes sense that everyone wants their control of their intellectual property. I mean,
Right.
if you were to make your own show,
Yeah.
you know, your own thing, once you do something original and
Mhm.
you'll expand into that, you want the right to profit from that. You know,
Right.
it's not fair for someone to come in and scoop it out from under you. You know,
And of course, if
you know, and so what we're doing here is at the deference of the people who own the intellectual property.
mhm.
They are generally okay as long as you're not making money off it.
Right, or doing something that
You know,
just makes them look bad.
But if there's something old enough, like Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah, something in the public
you can,
domain.
or Frankenstein, you
Yeah,
know, those things that are old enough, according to copyright, after 75 years, or I'm
whatever
sorry,
now.
it's
Yeah, they can
changed
change it.
over time. But you can make your own film, you know, based on that, you
Yeah.
know, because it's been around long enough and the copyright has fell off, and you know, the original publisher or whoever wrote it, you know, is gone, you know. So those things. So it just makes it's hard to expend a lot of money on something that you can't make money on.
Right.
You know? So if you were to make something for Amazon, it would you couldn't do something that would be that they would want to sign off on, because it's
right. Now here's a perfect example, Christopher. Morgan and Jake could actually write a book. Morgan and Jake can make a documentary about their film. They can sell those because it's, you know, it's their property. It's a documentary about what we did as fans, okay? And they'd still put a legal disclaimer at the end of the film that, you know, whoever owns this owns it, and please don't sue me and that kind of stuff, right? But they would still actually be legally allowed to make money off of those books and that type of a film. But once you actually are making a Michael Myers movie or a Star Trek movie, those, you know, if anybody makes money, it's the original IP owner. So I hope that clears that up a little bit. It's a little confusing, but so for example, Christopher Lee Power here is going to be in a film called Entertaining Angels, and unfortunately I don't have the footage of him other than the opening credits available at this particular point. But this is an example of how we show that we are inspired by Star Trek and UFO and Space 1999, but we're not a Star Trek series, okay? And this is a thing that I've always done, so.
Captain, we're receiving a Code 1 SOS from the research facility at Selena B.
This is Tucker Limbab, the scientific outpost on Selena B. We are experiencing gravimetric disturbances into the space-time continuum and require immediate help. To any starships in the area, please, you've got to help us. We have dozens of scientists and families and need immediate...
Well, y'all are gonna be alright. I'm gonna go check on Tucker.
Looks like you have somewhere else to be.
See you all out.
This is Task Force 78. Their mission to explore, patrol, and protect Federation interests along Orion's belt and the Klingon neutral zone.
This region is experiencing unusual waves of temporal anomalies which will produce unpredictable results.
someone else feeling zen or
Gravitation on automatic. Power down the
The
engine.
current styrofoam is jabberwockied into the looking glass.
I love that. I haven't seen that before. That was brilliant.
Thank you. That's a very rough cut right now, Christopher. I'm sorry. But you know, it does show progress, and our people were impressed with the special effects. So I'm very happy.
Just going back to, so don't forget Christopher Lee. That was great. I like that.
Oh yeah, and I'm very happy that you, number one, that you got what you wanted, and number two, that we have you on our team. Here's
Gabriel. Want to be more than a coffee boy around here. I mean, patience is working in Dr. Lewis's office for you.
What? That crazy son of a bitch nearly killed his own stepfather. I'm not going in there with him.
Okay, I mean, fine. I mean, being a big baby, seriously? I mean, if you want to... Oh, you know you said you didn't want to be coffee boy around here. Well, your patient's waiting for you at Dr. Lewis's office.
What? That crazy son of a bitch nearly killed his own stepfather. I'm not going in there with him.
Don't be such a baby, seriously? Look, if you want to be coffee boy, don't do that. Naughty! It's not you want to.
You're naughty, Christopher.
Michael Myers has unfinished business with the Strode family. Come on, Sheriff.
And what about the other house?
He'll have to wait.
Keep in contact, Hawkins.
Yeah.
Finish the investigations up here and wrap everything up.
Well, here we go. You're in your wild imagination. Probably something outside.
He just won't let go of the Should you really laugh when somebody's getting killed? I'm sorry, you can't help it. You know.
I think in that moment, because I actually played Michael in the first film, when she just would not let go of the bat, that was something. I really had to just.
You lost it, man.
Force it off a grasp, but yeah,
I thought that was you. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. I know Christopher does that.
If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
There you go.
You know.
Yeah. Christopher has a habit of when he blows a line, he goes, "No, not that one. It's the other thing." You know.
Yeah, do you know, I love, I mean, even in, when we did the second film a few weeks ago, it wasn't just about laughing. For me, a brilliant director I've just worked with recently on a musical said to me, because we were rehearsing a musical and called Under the Mersey Moon it was. And I just laughed so much with my lovely actress wife called Leslie Butler, and we laughed and laughed and laughed so much we couldn't do the scene. And the director started laughing, and I went to him and apologized. I said, "Look, I'm awfully sorry. I shouldn't have laughed." And he said to me these words which changed my opinion. He said, "Christopher, never ever apologize for having a laugh, because we need a bit of fun on set." So when I did the second film, we had it was so funny at times. But for me, when I get it wrong, I just have a bit of fun. And I admit it, you know, I can't hide it. I just admit getting it wrong. And, you know, that's what bloopers are there for, so that the audience can have a laugh at the end. We see them on many films now. And I think sometimes when we go to the cinema, in fact, Liam Neeson did The Naked Gun, didn't he? And some of the bloopers at the end of that were just hilarious. It's the same with pantomime. We go to pantomime, digressing a bit, and we go to watch a pantomime, but really deep down, you want the actors to get it wrong.
The opinions expressed in tonight's podcast are those of the individuals speaking. They do not necessarily reflect the views of HarrisFilm Productions or its other crew members.
HarrisFilm Productions, Task Force 78, the stuff dreams are made of. We're Open Channel D.
Task Force 78, standing by.
Salisbury Control. Clear for warp. Review engines engaged. All right, let's go!
Transmission complete.